So we'll keep on going through here, and we're going to learn some interesting stuff about Tom and Jane. So the first thing we had to do is determine a risk score for Tom, because we're going to make a portfolio allocation at some point in time, or look at making portfolio changes for Tom to see if we can put him in a better situation by making a portfolio change. So we've got to kind of know what Tom's risk number is. So based on that, we get Tom's a risk score of 65, which means in a very bad market, his portfolio could lose 26% or $250,000. Tom feels like he can stomach that. So that remains to be seen, but that's one of the things that we got to look at on the front end of our planning to see, hey, if your portfolio did drop that much, could you stomach it and hang in there, or would you panic and sell at the bottom, which can be very detrimental to the long-term success of your overall retirement plan. So the next thing we got to do, though, is we got to play marriage counselor here. And this is one of the things as a financial planner I never thought I would be doing, but we do it often. We play marriage counseling because usually the husband's risk tolerance or risk capacity doesn't meet the wife's, and they're different, right? So, the husband may want to take some risk, and the wife may want to take no risk or less risk. And in this case, Jane was okay taking some risk. Her risk score was 50. Which means her ideal portfolio would have lost 21% in the Great Depression, or 07, 08, 09 scenario, and then we call it Great Recession, by the way, and would have been down $208,000. She feels like she could live with that, and so that's why her risk number is 50. And then this is where the marriage counseling comes in. So here we had to determine their overall risk score as a household was a 60, which means they're right here at that 26% down number, 255, 236, potential loss in a down market. So that's kind of where they are. The next thing we wanted to do is, okay, guys, if that did happen, right, where would you be? So in this case, how would Tom feel about being down $250,000? He said he'd be worried but wouldn't keep it up at night. Jane said she feels so worried she wouldn't be able to sleep. But both of them agreed that, hey, I'm a long-term investor here, and we should be able to hold on. I'm investing for the long term. After all, I've got my pension, albeit small, and my Social Security income, so we should be able to weather that storm, depending on if that potential landmine were to be stepped on, when that would actually happen, right? Obviously, the front years for them, because they're 60 and 62, they're going to take Social Security right now in their current plan at 67. So if that happened, that 5-year gap of not getting that Social Security income, it could be pretty detrimental. So got to watch out for that. The next thing we got to look at is how they're currently allocated. And this is based on the cash they have. Once they have a 24% position in cash, personally, when they're getting ready to retire and they need those dollars to be working on their behalf to produce income, I think that the cash is too high. We're going to address that later on in the video. And here's the overall rest of his allocation. Currently, the portfolio is pretty in line with the risk tolerance. This will be considered almost a 60-40 portfolio in his 401k, excluding the cash in his brokerage account. And according to our mathematics here, these asset classes and how they perform over time, the Great Recession loss his portfolio would have been down 20% and would have lost 195, which is a little bit more in line with Jane's risk tolerance and a little bit out of line with Tom's risk tolerance. But nonetheless, it gives us some ideas of where they are and where we could go. All right. So next thing is we'll look at something that's pretty interesting. So these are the portfolios that are standard portfolios: 60-40 portfolio, 80-20 portfolio, 70-30 portfolio, that sort of thing. And these are different models that we can go into should we want to look at increasing the risk they could take in their strategy or in their plan to try to get to a higher long-term probability of success. We'll visit more on that here in a few minutes. Last thing we'll look at here is their current portfolio. Not a bunch to look at because we're not yet making any changes or recommending any changes. And again, that's how they're currently allocated. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what their current mix of investments and their current savings rate that they have and what they've applied thus far, their current plan to take Social Security and when to take Social Security, the income they need of $8,000 a month over their retirement lifespan. What is the long-term probability of success that their current portfolio allocation with $800,000 in the 401k in a 60-40 portfolio, $200,000 in the brokerage account in cash, taking Social Security both at age 67 to get the max benefits, Tom's pension, what is the long-term chance of success that that mix of assets and amount of savings and the way the portfolio is invested and the pension and the Social Security timing, what is the long-term probability of success of their current strategy? Well, we run this, folks, and what we see is out of 1,000 trials, they get 600 successes, and that means they have a 60% chance of long-term success of achieving their goals of reducing that income of $96,000 a year grown for inflation over their age 90 and 92 respectively life expectancy. So to me, that's not a great number. It's not awful. It could be less by all means. But is 60 a good result? Well, let's find out what good results are and what good results aren't. So anything below 75 is below what we call the confidence zone. It's too much uncertainty for your age and not enough protection against future shocks. And the confidence zone is 75 to 80%. My personal favorite number, by the way, is 85%. That's a good balance between current and future lifestyle, and it may hold up well against future shocks, meaning major market crashes and downturns, that sort of thing, that we can't control, by the way. And then above confidence zone, we're giving up more than necessary now, and this is okay if you're ultra conservative with your planning. My number, by the way, is 85%. I like to see our plans come in at 85% because at 100%, which we can often get you to, it tells me you're not living enough and not enjoying life enough. At 85%, it's a good cushion there. We're doing well. We're enjoying the things that we work so hard for in our careers to earn and be able to do in our golden years. So that is kind of where they sit now, all right? So the question comes is, okay, that's obviously not high enough to retire. And I can see why Tom and Jane feel like right now they can't afford to retire. So what are some things that we can do? Well, a couple of things. One, we can look at working longer, right, and saving more. We could look, instead of spending $8,000 a month out of the portfolio, what if we spend $6,000 a month? Can we make those numbers work? We could increase the risk of our portfolio. That might work. We could make sure we're maximizing our Social Security income and using that the right way. So that might be another thing we can do. So let's kind of look at those things and see if we can get this long-term chance of success up and get Tom and Jane comfortable enough to retire today when and how they want to. So what we're going to do here is go over to a recommended scenario and look at some changes that we could make. Now, what's going to happen, folks, is this 60% number is going to drop to 56%. Don't worry about that. The reason why that's happening is the portfolio in the current scenario is based on what Tom has in his 401k and $200,000 in cash in a brokerage account. So our recommended scenario is trying to match that portfolio, but can't match that as exact funds in Tom's 401k. That's why the number is a little bit lower. Don't worry, we're going to get that number much higher, okay? So the first thing we can look at is, let's look at Social Security. Because, you know, we want to make sure we're taking getting the most out of Social Security. Currently, Tom and Jane are wanting to take Social Security at 67. Tom's figured out that, hey, that's the best thing to do based on reaching full retirement age at age 67. So their current strategy is 67. Tom gets his benefit of 42,770, and Jane gets half of that benefit when she turns 67. So the question is there a mix of the strategies here? If they claim it as soon as possible, right when they retire, which is kind of the same thing, at full retirement age or at age 70, does any of those increase the long-term probability of success, which are these numbers right here? Well, if I saw a number that was higher here, we would obviously opt for that number because getting a different Social Security strategy might be able to help us get that long-term chance of success much higher. But in this case, it looks like Tom's done a good job of planning for Social Security because he said, hey, we're going to take it this way. When I'm 67, I'm taking my benefit at full retirement age. When Jane hits the same age, she gets half of my full age retirement benefit, and that's what she's going to do. All right. So based on that, they're going down a good path on Social Security. But again, if there were some other strategies that we can employ that had a higher chance of long-term success, then we would absolutely look at employing those. The next thing we can look at is, well, what if we took more risk in the portfolio, right? That's often something somebody says because right now they're at a balance level portfolio, which means on a risk return curve, they're about dead in the middle. And I'll show you what that means here in just a second. Let this populate here. It takes a minute because it's running all kind of scenarios here. Pretty cool piece of software. So what they can do here is we can look at where they're currently allocated. You look at what we call a risk return curve, and you have portfolios that move out just like this on a risk return curve, right? Where this portfolio out here is more risky and this portfolio right here is more conservative, okay? How Tom is currently allocated is right here dead center in the middle. So the question is, if he's dead center in the middle, that means we could go higher here, right? We could move out this way on the risk return curve and potentially take more risk. Well, does that help us get to where we want to go? And so these portfolios, this is conservative, moving down towards more risky here. And you can see right here that they really don't change much. And Tom's current allocation beats the balanced recommended portfolio or total return portfolio. So the reality is he's kind of in the right mix of asset classes, assuming a passive investment strategy, which could certainly be improved on. We're trying to keep it high-low here, folks, for planning purposes. All right, so to that end, increasing risk is not going to get him there. So we've determined that he's already taken the right Social Security strategy, but increasing risk, another thing we could do, is not going to get us to where we need to go. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Allied Wealth On the Money YouTube channel. Glad to have you here today. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like the content we're putting out, please give us a like down below. Hit the subscribe button, and also feel free to comment in the comment section. We'll try to reply to those as well. We look forward to seeing you again on the next video on the Allied Wealth YouTube channel.